Okay, so we'll move through the presentation now, and I'll introduce you to the world of Tempo time credits. And the starting point of doing that is what we're going to cover today. What I'm going to cover today is three things. What are Tempo time credits and their place in volunteering, both now and into 2030s? Hannah is going to deliver a presentation on the demo of the system, and then I'm going to come back to you with some impact of Tempo time credits and a bit on case studies. What are time credits, but what impact do they actually have? So turning to the first point that we cover, and there is a lot of information on the screen, and please be assured I am not going to read every single word to you. I'll make sure the presentation is available through Stephen or Chris afterwards. I'm not going to sit and read every bit of it to you. Effectively, time credits began in the Welsh Valleys in 2008 as a community development organisation. Since then, we've moved away from delivering the community development directly, and we work with partner organisations like you, who work directly in the local community, and our service providers. We'll come on to different types of clients we work with. We don't do the frontline delivery. We work with partners to build the engagement in the local community via co-production. What that enables us to do is to focus on the impact that time credits have rather than the frontline delivery service. We can't claim the credit for what happens in the community. That's the credit of the organisations that we work with. So what do we actually do? We provide over 1,100 service providers and community organisations that actively supports them to recruit, retain, and reward volunteers. Most of our work is spent working in socially deprived communities and organisations. We have just completed in July this year our 21-22 impact survey that found that 69% of the organisations that we work with found that time credits were an important and powerful recruitment and retention tool. At Tempo, we've got a really important job to do. We're really passionate about the job to do, and what we want to do is use time credits as a tool to recognise and reward volunteers in the community, but also work with the vulnerable people in society and help them to reconnect and build their confidence and make a difference to their own lives and those people around them. We'll understand more about that when we come on to look at what the impact of time credits are. We're not in this for ourselves. We are a charity. We all work for a charity. We're here to basically, as Mark said in that slide, we get out of bed to make a significant and long-lasting impact and difference to local communities and the individuals who are in those communities. So, Stephen.
Yes, sorry. I just know from experience, well, I mentioned this because obviously we're working with you for quite a while now in developing the API and the link up. People have, they don't fully understand what time credits are. And I wondered if you could try and do your best to explain what time credits are. Was that something you're going to come on to? I'm not sure.
Stephen, thank you very much for the question on it. It's important sometimes when you're running.
I've just read it on the screen. Right, ignore me.
No, but please do interrupt me with things like that, because when you're as passionate about this stuff as we are, it's dead easy to assume that people know what they are and what we do. So please do interrupt.
I think you can assume, can't you? And I just assumed time credits, but then a lot of people asked and didn't know what they were, and I was like, we need to kind of clarify that. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, no, thank you, Stephen. It's really helpful. Time credits is a very, very simple model, but it's incredibly difficult to explain. But in effect, a person, a service user, or a volunteer gives an hour of their time or a period of time to an activity for a charity or organisation, or attends a meeting, attends a workshop, attends a skills function, attends, so for example, some of our alcohol recovery programs, they earn a time credit by attending a meeting. Some of our homelessness charities, they do it by doing local authority house search, etc., etc. They earn a time credit for every hour that they give. And then what they can do is they can take that time credit and use it against a wide range of activities or services in the local community and in the national community. So effectively, I'm going to explain this in two ways. Way one is what I would call standard volunteering. So Jean or Jim volunteers in their local community cafe for an hour on a Tuesday morning, and Jean or Jim earns a time credit. They get one time credit or two time credits, depending what the organisation choose to give them. They then gather up their time credits and they decide that they're going to visit Kew Gardens in London, for example, or they're going to go to another local leisure centre in their community who are with us as a recognition partner, and they get free entry or something for free in exchange for their time credits. Now that ranges from a gym session, a visit to Kew Gardens, Chorley Flower Show, a yoga session. Sometimes there are Tesco vouchers or things like that. Hannah, jump in with some of the more popular. There's crazy, Hannah knows these recognition partners inside out. There's crazy golf activities, there's leisure activities, there's a whole host of partners. Hannah, is there anyone that jumps out that I've not covered?
Wales Millennium Centre, Plantasia Zoo.
Plantasia Zoo, Wales Millennium Centre, all of these kind of activities. We do not operate a system of discount codes. We're not interested in giving discounts to volunteers, primarily because a lot of what we do is working with the most vulnerable in society, that a 20% discount off of a shop isn't any good to them, because they don't have the other £8 or £10 or whatever it is to pay for the rest of it. So we only do direct qualification. I see that somebody's just popped up a question there. Does it include access to training courses? Yes, it can do. It depends what offers are on the system at the one time. It changes on a regular basis. So some people do skills development courses. Hannah, can you think of one of them off the top of your head? I know that we had the mental health training course recently. Hannah's just going to unmute.
We've got first aid courses, those kinds of training sessions on there, professional training.
Yeah. It varies from time to time. Partners put different offers up at different times. How do you sell this to the people giving free services? I'll come back to that when I move on to recognition partners in just a minute, Stephen. So effectively, service users and community groups can use it for two effective ways. They can use it to recruit and build partnerships with their service users and community groups in an area. They can use it. I'll come back to that question from Nottinghamshire Hospice in just a wee second. They can use time credits to show that they're giving something to standard volunteers, which we know from statistics helps recruit volunteers. Groups can benefit from improving their recruitment quantity and diversity and retention, and reduce their costs. In terms of recognition partners, we work with a number of recognition partners to get them to give us. We don't purchase the recognition. They're given to us by the local businesses and by the local communities. Some of them, like the bigger partners, give us them to meet their corporate social responsibility outcomes. Our team that recruits recognition partners also uses it for things like theatres or cafes and things like that. The theatres, if it's going to be an empty performance or they're going to have empty seats anyway, they're as well having a seat in place rather than not. We do a huge amount of work with national theatres to offer. Jade, you've just asked the best question for me, but I'm going to come back to those questions in just a wee second. I'll just finish this wee bit to answer Stephen's question. I'll turn back to them. So they give corporate social responsibility. Some of it is they literally work in the community. Some cafes will give a cup of coffee they know, and we know through statistics, that some volunteers will spend money while they're there. So although they are giving a cup of coffee for a Tempo time credit, the person might, and I'm going to cover all the different districts of the UK, they might get a bacon roll and have to pay for the bacon roll, or a bacon batty, or a bacon butty, or whatever anyone else calls a bacon roll. They may use that. So there is for the recognition partners the potential for a revenue stream for it. The theatres know that they might buy a drink while they're in the theatre, or a programme or something. We do not guarantee that to partners that will happen, but from memory, about 65 to 70% of volunteers will spend between £5 and £10 on a visit, but there's no obligation on them to do that. Where that figure often comes from is they take somebody with them to the theatre who has purchased the ticket, or they take a pal for a coffee and they get the 2 coffees and their pal pays for a bacon roll or something like that. So that's where it comes from. I just want to jump back to the questions. As an example, how many time credits would need to be for free entry to a garden centre? That depends on what happens with that recognition partners. They set how many time credits they're looking for in exchange for it. Most activities range between 1 to 3 time credits, Hannah. I think that's the average. 1 to 3. I think Kew Gardens is 5 time credits. Last time it went up, I think it was 5 time credits for it, which is effectively equivalent to about 5 hours of volunteering. Jade, you've asked a really important question about the taxable benefit or payment. This is a very complicated question to answer, but we have had confirmation from HMRC that it is not a P11D benefit, providing it doesn't exceed particular categories. So, for example, we recommend a volunteer should not earn more than 60 time credits a year. It is open to asylum seekers. It's open to, I'll come on to that in the presentation, but we have very specific advice for how charitable organisations can recognise volunteers. It is not a currency, it is not a payment, and I can provide the advice from HMRC about how you should operate a programme in your area with Tempo time credits to make sure you don't cross that line into it becoming a benefit. It's to do about the volunteer activities, directing activities, when they come, how they come, etc. But I can, if you drop us an email or drop me an email or send me a private message on here with your email address, I can forward that specific advice on to you. It's probably too complicated to go in any more detail in this presentation, other than to say we have got confirmation that it is not classified as a taxable benefit. And the next
to all that, isn't it? We've had discussions in the past. People have asked for certain things, like not time credits, but certain benefits, and it's a fine line. Like you've got to tread, to make sure that actually, it's not classed as a payment to somebody. In terms of, it's a. But I mean, it seems crazy because obviously when you say this, you think, well, yeah, why wouldn't you allow that? Yeah, they're giving up their free time to do something benefit in society. Why wouldn't you give them some kind of benefit back? But yeah.
I'm going to pause for a wee second because I don't trust Google to give me the email address that's just been sent to me. So I'm just going to very quickly write that down so that I don't forget it. And yes, I can absolutely send that to you, Dolores. Thank you for that.
We'll make sure you get that done, don't worry, after the session.
That's brilliant. Thank you, Chris. Can organisations be reward partners and offer time credits? Yes, Joanna, they can. You can do both. Quite often, we've got community-run cafes who use volunteers to offer the service, and they also recognise their volunteers by giving them time credits. Some people use it with that, some people go elsewhere. I'm more than delighted to do that and get that documentation sent to you. I'm just going to quickly move on in terms of what the platform does. The platform records the service users and the volunteer hours. It gives you a list of recognition opportunities and allows service users and volunteers to select one to use on a Tempo time credit. Our customer service team are there for non-digital users. So anyone that doesn't have access to the technology or is not able to use the platform, we have a non-digital methodology because we know that some vulnerable people in society can't use the technology. So there is a Tempo Time Credits membership card that we can give to anyone in that situation, and the group that they're part of can access the platform and show them where to use opportunities, or they can phone our customer service team, which Hannah so ably leads, and they'll be talked through which offers are on and what's available, and we can help them book that and take them through the process. So there's always an option even for those who are non-digital. Time credits impact. I think we've covered the first part of it, and I'm going to do it very quickly. Incentivize your service users to start the program or remain on the program. Your service users remain on the program of activities they have to undertake because of the positive inducement. Offers service users the opportunity to volunteer for local community groups and record what they've done, so they start to build up additional skill sets, which can be helpful in job market. It can be helpful for CVs, and it can also just be good for mental health to start them engaging with their community and meeting new friends and creating new opportunities. No problems with HMRC, which we've just spoken about, and it does not cause problems with employability programs or the benefit system. GDPR, our systems are fully protected and no data is provided to third parties unless you expressly agree with it. So when the API is available with TeamKinetic, where our systems will be talking to each other, you would have to expressly opt into that information, but both of them are safe, secure, and I think we're both Cyber Essentials certified to make sure that our systems are safe and secure. And Chris is nodding to me, so that was good. Who do we actually work for and who pays for it is a really important question. We work at the moment predominantly with national and local government and local authorities, clinical commissioning groups, health boards, housing associations, community groups and charities, and we work with businesses for our recognition partners. We're funded in two main ways. We're either funded by commissions. So for example, some clinical commissioning groups fund us to work in a particular area because of the health outcomes that can come out of time credits and our co-production offered services. Other funding is done by joint grant funding bids, where we are funded in a particular area to work with service users on drug and alcohol misuse, or we work with rehabilitation of offenders in other areas. A whole range of across the spectrum of local authority and community groups and charities. Since 2008, over 1.4 million Tempo Time credits have been earned. 180,000 of those have been, so more than 10% have been earned since the start of 2021. So we're in a rapid growth part. We currently work in 6 of 8 regions in England, and we have a national contract with the Welsh Government to provide our services to every charity and voluntary organisation and community organisation in Wales. We are not yet in Scotland, so Volunteer Glasgow, I am more than happy to have a conversation about how we could start a project in Scotland. I have met with the Minister for Volunteering in the last year in Scotland to try and move that forward, but I'd be delighted to take that conversation forward because it's easier for me to get to Glasgow from Airdrie than it is for me to get to Cardiff, Manchester or London. So I'd be delighted to do something in Glasgow. Demo of the system. Hannah is going to give you a quick demo of the system, and then I'm going to come back on and I'm going to take you through what the impact and what we have achieved through the use of time credits. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and let Hannah jump on.
Okay, great. I'll just share my screen. Okay, So yeah, I'm just going to take you through our system. So all of the time credit transactions take place online. Volunteers will have an account that sits under what we call an earn group. So that's an organisation where they can earn time credits, and whoever's responsible for that group will issue them with the time credits. So I'll take you through what it looks like from their perspective. So first of all, the organisation will sign up on a page that looks like this. And once signed up, they will see a page that looks a bit like this. So we'll run through Judy from Cardiff Litter Pickers account today. So yeah, when you first log into your account, you'll see this screen. You'll be able to see how many time credits your group, your organisation has available to give out to your volunteers, just here in the top right. And then you'll be able to see various stats about how time credits have been used within your organisation. And then when you scroll down, you'll see these 4 main buttons. So these are the main things that you'll need to be able to do in order to operate time credits within your organisation. So first of all, you'll want to get your hands on some time credits. So in order to do that, you click on this Get More Time Credits button. You'll then choose the quantity that you'd like to request from Tempo, and then you just have to click Get More Time Credits. That will then send a request through to us at our end, and we'll be able to approve that according to the agreement in your area. And then once you've got some time credits, the next thing to do is to get your volunteers all set up on the system. So in order to do that, you'll go to this Invite a New Volunteer button, and that will take you to this page where you'll see there's a unique invite link. So that link will be unique to your group. So you'll send it to anybody you want to be added to your organisation, and that will take you to a page that looks a bit like this. So this is all that we ask from volunteers, from service users: their name, their email, their postcode, and then they set themselves a password. So that's all we ask from volunteers, and then they'll be set up and ready to start earning time credits. As Dan mentioned earlier, there's an option for volunteers that don't have email addresses. Basically, you'll be able to add their details on their behalf, and in exchange they will receive a Tempo ID number, which all volunteers get, and it's with that ID number that they'll then be able to use the time credits that they earn. So you can log your volunteers this way if necessary. Once you send that link out, you can monitor your volunteers signing up by clicking on this View My Volunteers button. You'll be able to see the full list of your volunteers, and you'll be able to watch over time as they earn time credits and start to use them. So that's there for you to refer back to. And so by this point, you'll have some time credits and you'll have your volunteers, and so you're ready to then start giving out time credits. So in order to do that, you click on this Give Out Time Credits button. And that will take you through to this page. You'll first of all have to pick the activity that you're issuing time credits for. So in this case, Judy from Cardiff Litter Pickers will probably have some litter picking volunteers to give time credits to. So that would probably fit under this practical help category. And then if you want to, you can add more detail about the kind of activity that was involved. So you could say that it was the Friday litter pick. And you can add in a date as well. Once you've done that, you then click Choose Who to Give Tempo Time Credits to, and that will take you to your list of volunteers. So all the people that have signed up through your unique link will come up in this list, and then you can pick one or multiple people that were at the Friday litter pick, and then you choose to assign the time credits according to how much volunteering they've done. You don't have to give them all the same amount if they've volunteered for different amounts of time. And then once you've done that, all that's left to do is click the Say Thank You and Give Out Tempo Time Credits button, and that will issue those time credits to those volunteers. They'll get an email thanking them for volunteering, notifying them that they've been given their time credits, and it will prompt them to go and log into their side of their account and see what they might want to do with them. So that, from an organisational perspective, is all you have to do to make time credits work. there are some extra features that you can have a look at that might help you in that process. On this Search Time Credits Opportunities page, that will take you to the page that shows you all the different opportunities with time credits. So it will look the same to you as it looks to volunteers. So it's helpful if you're trying to help them use their credits, or if they're looking for additional volunteering opportunities, they can come and look here too. So you'll be able to scroll through, have a look at the different options to earn and then to use. And then if you click on this View More button, you can then specify where you're looking for activities, and you can have a look through what's on offer here. In order to then use credits at any of these venues, there are 3 options depending on what the venue offers. Some will say people can just turn up to the front desk, let the front of house team know that they want to use time credits to access whatever the activity is, and the venue will ask the volunteer for their Tempo ID number, and so they just need that to access the activity. The other 2 options require them to book in advance, so it might be that they provide their Tempo ID number by phone or email with the venue, or they may get a booking code in exchange for their time credits from the system, and then we'll direct them to that venue's website where they'll buy a ticket and then input the booking code to deduct the cost. So there's 3 different ways that the time credits are converted into a ticket or access to an activity, but they'll each be explained on the offers and what they have to do from there. So that's how volunteers can use their time credits. You'll have seen this earn section as well, and so it's an optional feature as a group, but if you want to use time credits as a way to recruit extra volunteers, then you have the opportunity to use this section to list your own organisation to attract other people that are looking at the site. And in order to set that up, you just go to your Recruit Volunteers button on the left-hand side, and it will let you put together a little profile for your organisation. You can explain if it's remotely or in person. You can pass on your contact details, and then anyone that sees your listing will get in touch with you. They won't automatically be signed up to your group, so you can still have a conversation with them and discuss what volunteering opportunities you have available. And then you can specify specific volunteering activities or events that you're looking for help with, and then you can make your profile public, and it will be listed on that page, and it will look something a bit like this. So that's also available once you're on the system. And that is mainly it. There's other options to add additional administrators that will be able to help whoever the main person is in running the group and issuing time credits. So those kinds of things are possible on the system. But yeah, that's kind of how it all works.
Thank you very much, Hannah. I'm just going to bring Chris in before I turn to the questions in the box, because I see Chris has got his hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to pick up for the guys that are TeamKinetic customers, where our next development sprint will be looking at how we integrate the time credits into the Tempo time credits into the TeamKinetic product. So some of the steps that Hannah showed you there, we will hopefully avoid having to duplicate, because you're already doing some of that work in Kinetic, where the hours are being logged and things like that. You would only have to do that in one of the locations to save you having to duplicate work. And where you've got elements in Tempo where they're promoting the recognition partners, our hope is we'll be able to point your volunteers at those recognition options. So again, so Tempo don't have to recreate things in lots of places. We'll point the volunteer back to the Tempo website to show the volunteers, here's all the things you can access, and here's how you book them and whatnot. Here's where you cash in your credit, so to speak. But in terms of managing it, we hope to reduce a lot of the steps for you guys, that when you log their hours, there'll be a button there that says claim offer the credits as well. So it's still to be defined. There's a bit of work to be done to get to that point.
The early state, yeah. Still at the early stage.
I just wanted to give sort of everyone. I know Claire put in the talk there about how it talks to TK. we want to put your mind at rest. We're not going to create extra work for you. If anything, we're going to make it easier to give out these credits, because that's kind of the key to the thing, is that people can get their hands on them.
Yeah, I think for me, I mean, there's obvious things. There's a lot of things you can do, even just go through the steps there. So it's going to be at a provider. It'll be at a provider level. So providers will be purchasing the time credits essentially, which probably something that Claire's interested in.
Not sure that's quite true yet, Steve. All to be defined.
Oh, really? All right.
Yeah,
I'd
at
imagine
this point,
it would be.
stage one.
For what I said, I think it's got to be the providers.
Rather than thinking out loud, let's move on with the session, because
yeah, I'm going to jump in before Chris batters his team member for that. Thanks, Stephen. Yeah, as Chris said, we are in the process of developing the API. It's at a very early stage at the moment of developing that integration between the two systems. We will do everything we can to reduce any possibility of duplicated entry and ensure the smoothest speaking between the two systems, as Chris has outlined. I'm sure at some point we'll look for a working group to work with us to give us your frontline experience as we're developing that, to see how much we can improve it. And as with all these things, we will continue to improve it. Dolores, I'm going to hold your question at the moment, because that's relevant to how I'm going to tell you how we work with people. And Claire, that's just been done. Volunteer Glasgow, do we work with any other volunteer centres? We do, Tracy, but nothing in Scotland at the moment. We work with NCBO, we work with CBOs across England and Wales. We're not in Scotland at all at the moment, although we are trying to come to Scotland. But how are we trying to come to Scotland? Well, how do we actually work together? Brings me to the next phase of the presentation. The first phase, before we throw any money at anything or we do a discovery phase, we need to understand what the needs of your community are, what the service users and what the volunteer needs are, so that we can design a package for you, because we don't really just sell time credits and you just buy time credits unless you're in the area that we already have a contract in, where you become just a direct customer. So you don't buy any of our co-production work or community development and our community asset-based development work. We will sell you time credits just to give out time credits on their own in that area, but we generally work for more commission programs, for example, working in communities to achieve health outcomes, mental health awareness, loneliness and isolation, employability. We work for a purpose. If you are a small charity or a charity in a particular area that we're already working, you do have the ability just to purchase time credits on their own, but that would be a separate conversation to this kind of work. What we tend to do is the discovery phase, an internal marketing phase, an initiation, onboarding and support. So we'll come out, we'll work with you, we'll develop a program with you, we'll then provide you the management information via the system, and you can access it at any time. And then we do an annual survey for each impact of your area. I'm about to run through some impact once we go through the model of what we do. If you go onto our website, wearetempo.org, and click impact, you can see that we have published this year for the first time down to community level impact. We obviously share with our commissioners those who their own impact per their own project, but for the first time this area we've published a UK-wide impact report. We've published a regional impact report, but we've also published individual outcome-based reports. So be it on mental health, be it on loneliness and isolation or employability, we've published impact reports in each of those areas. There's too much in there to go through in this presentation, but if you have a look at our website, or I will share them with you, or a link to it with you after the event. So set up, we design, and Dolores, this is going to answer your question. We define exactly what recognition opportunities your service users want when we're setting up a survey. So when we're starting a program in a new area, so for example, Nottinghamshire, we're in Birmingham at the moment, we're not in Nottingham itself with a program, but if we were coming into Nottinghamshire to establish a program, we will discuss what volunteers are looking for, and then our recognition team will start bringing on new partners in that area based on the outcomes. We know that people like day out activities, local community leisure centres, cinema trips, national heritage sites, etc. We would try to bring them on at the setup phase of our contract. Then we go to the ongoing system, which is the platform access and customer support, the recognition partner management fee, and a price per tempo time credits purchased. So we do the setup and delivery, and once it's up and running, there's just the ongoing part based on the contract. I'm going to skip this slide about the future just because of time, because effectively you're working with service user volunteers, you know what's happened. We know that COVID's had a huge impact on volunteering, particularly with older and most vulnerable volunteers. Tempo plans for the future is improved recognition opportunity search facility on our system. We want to link into VMS, which is why we're talking to TeamKinetic and their wonderful system. We want to improve the facility to donate to groups, not just the individuals. So we have a lot of volunteers who earn time credits and donate them to individuals, not themselves. So they might earn 10 time credits and they choose to give them away to 10 people with mental health challenges, or 10 people who struggle with family outcomes. So groups where it's about parents and children doing activities that they otherwise couldn't afford to do. They get donated time credits, which enable them to do that. We're looking to enhance our community organisation benchmarking and impact measurement. So we publish our statistics and what we achieve through our programmes, but what we don't quite yet do is use that information to say, well, how does this compare to other communities that don't use Tempo time credits and their programs? For the first time this year, we've put an external organisation doing the economic impact of time credits, which I'm just about to turn now. So what are the impacts? This is a very high level slide. So this is net wellbeing in the UK. I'm going to ignore the economic impact because it's on the slide. 70% of those who use Tempo time credits reported an improvement in their quality of life from using time credits. 84% said that by using time credits, they felt more positive about their futures. 68% improved physical health. 86% feels more confident. 80% felt healthier overall. 57% said that Tempo time credits helped me get a job. Now, that's not us sitting writing CVs for them. That's them using their time credits to upskill, get new skills, get volunteers experience and list it on a CV to gain employment. 87% learned a new skill. 73% can afford to do more things. Now, that is going to be absolutely critical and crucial for the most vulnerable in society as we see the cost of living crisis continue to impact on it. 81% felt less lonely or isolated. Again, post-COVID, people have become used to hiding in their own property for very valid reasons, but we need to recognise the impact that that has on loneliness and isolation and their community engagement and involvement. 83% felt that they improved their mental health. 93% felt more able to contribute to their community, and 91% actually learned what community-based services and support were available to them by engaging with our co-production model. Economic position of volunteers. Time credits brings in a wider variety of, we know that 62% of those in the NCBO survey were in employment. Because of our demographic that we work with, only 30% of the economic position were in employment with us. Volunteer history. 14% of those who come to volunteering through time credits had never volunteered before. Over 20% had given time occasionally, but they now become a regular volunteer. And 65% now say that from when they started with time credits, they now regularly volunteer. Over 10% say that quality of life impact is significant. To some extent, 30%, a little, just under 30%, not at all, 30%. So 70% of Tempo volunteers think their quality of life has had some sort of improvement as a result of earning and using time credits. Those are the figures that I quoted in the overall sum pact, but I felt more positive about my future. I feel less lonely or isolated. I feel like I can contribute more to my community. I can afford to do things and I feel more confident. Health impact. Now, this is quite important, and apologies, I didn't clock if anybody was here from an NHS organisation or clinical commissioning group. But for me, this is a really significant result for clinical commissioning groups in the NHS and community-based services wider. We see that the somewhat group and mostly have less need to use social care services, less need to see their GP because they're feeling healthier and more active. My mental health has improved. We can see that significantly from somewhat, mostly, and a lot. That's a significant impact. So they feel better. 80%, as a summary of this, feel better. Mental health benefits are stronger than the physical health benefits, but close to 2/3 of people need to use their GP and social care less. That will save those services money. It will reduce pressure on the service provision, but more importantly, we can see that it's delivering an impact for that individual in our community and what they're achieving. 90% of Temple volunteers are able to understand and contribute to the development of asset-based community projects. 1/4 of the volunteers have been able to understand and contribute to community development a lot. And this community aspect is a major driver of the work that we do at Tempo. For us, it's not about making money. We're not for profit. We're not for loss either. He'll say, being the director of sales, we're not for loss, but we're not for profit. Profit is not a driver for us as a charity. It's about delivering this major change in community development across the United Kingdom. Employment and skills opportunities. We've seen a significant change in this since we've moved into delivering skill training and development of it, where you can see that we're now over 80% of people saying that they've learned a new skill. And for those in employability programs, nearly 60% have found a job since they started volunteering with Tempo time credits. Quality of life, I'm going to skip over just because of time. I'm going to try and help us get back onto the overall conference schedule. And make sure I don't drag that out any further. Making a difference to volunteer organisations, improve diversity, improved retention, and helps them recruit more volunteers. Now, improved our ability to raise funding. That's quite an interesting one. We do a lot of joint funding bids with organisations. And quite often we get feedback to say that Tempo time credits is that which made their bid for funding stand out because it was achieving a long-term impact in the community. We are delighted to work with organisations to do joint grant funding bids or match funding bids with organisations to work together for organisations that struggle with budget. We're delighted to do joint funding bids and joint designs on it. Contact details. That's our contact details on the screen just out. Oh, and a link to the impact report that I said I was going to send out. I will arrange with Stephen or Chris to get these slides sent to you. I will also send you the HMRC guidance that we have, because I promised to do that. And I'll drop everybody an email giving you my personal contact details as well. I'm more than delighted to talk to anybody about programs and how we can develop it and how we can design the programs, how we can fund the programs, if they can be funded directly by your organisation or whether we need to go and apply for funding. I think at the moment we've got in the region of 48 to 50 funding applications in with organisations across the UK just now, so I'm delighted to take that. I'm also delighted to take any further questions. Stephen, are you okay if I run for 5 minutes for questions, or if nobody has questions?
Perfectly fine.
We've got about 3 minutes, Dan, if that's okay.
Yep, there's Chris in with the whip again. That's why I asked.
I'll give you 4.
That's why I asked for Stephen and not Chris there. I was trying to get a bit of extra time for questions.
Always ask for me.
Yeah, I'm sure Chris is going to do that. Joanna, please, if you want to pop your mic on.
Thank you. So also in Scotland, so it's possibly a future question, Historic Environment Scotland here. But it's more because you've really been focusing on volunteer people who are volunteer managers, very understanding with the nature of the conference we're here. But I'm conscious that there might be other organizations like us who both manage volunteers and could potentially be a reward provider as well. So your presentation really focused on the volunteer management side of things. What are the implications for organizations getting involved by being a reward provider? Are there cost implications in that? Is there a lot of admin needed on the system? What does an organization that's a reward provider need to do to engage with Tempo time credits? And do you do that in Scotland yet or no?
Not yet, but we will, and we can. And we know that volunteers tend to travel across a lot of the UK. So we get people going from Wales to London and using their time credits in London. We get people who go to Cornwall. So there's no reason why they cannot come and visit the bonny banks of Scotland's lovely countryside. But yes, we can put recognition partners on from anywhere. We do not charge for organisations to list their recognition opportunities, but nor do we guarantee that volunteers will come and use them with you. So we don't guarantee to say that if you put an offer up that people will come to it. So for example, with a football club who puts tickets up, we can't guarantee that anybody is going to want to come and watch Celtic against Rangers. So you can put the offer up. Whether a volunteer chooses to come and see that or come and use that service, it's up to them. They can pick and choose. You can also limit the number of offers that you put on. So once your offer is designed with our recognition team, it's completely within the recognition partner's control. They can switch it on, turn it off as much as they want. They can limit it to 10 volunteers a year, 5 volunteers a year using the service, or they can put up as many as they want. So for example, I've got a gym at the moment that calls, I think it's Simply Gym, that I've just put on 2,500 classes. And I've said, no, that's not going to work. You need to make it a bit smaller so that people can actually find your offers. That would be the way of doing that. But Joanna, I can also demo that system to you. It's not complicated. It's very, very simple on how to do it, and there's not a big admin burden on the recognition partners. We're asking them for stuff for free, effectively, so we want to make it as easy as we possibly can.
Last minute, Dan. I think we've got a question from Dolores.
Yeah, Dolores, can you tell me approximate cost of setup and a block of Tempo time credits, and would be a separate conversation? Okay, Dolores, it's going to be a separate conversation because of time, but I've got your email address from when you posted it earlier. I will drop you an email. I worked in East Mids for 12 years, so I know the area really well, so I'd be delighted to have a conversation with you about that. And I am getting daggers from Chris for my time, so I am going to pop my email address, my personal email address, in the box right now. If anybody, there we go, everybody quick copy and paste that into a Word document or your notepad. I will be in touch with the email addresses that have been popped in the box. I'd be delighted to talk to any of you about any aspect of this, or get one of our local team to speak to you if you're close to one of our projects. Thank you very much indeed for everybody for attending. Chris, thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you,
I wish you all the best for the rest of the conference.
Yeah, thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
Really
Cheers, guys. I've popped a link back to the main meeting into the chat. We're going to meet back at 1 o'clock, and we will see you all then, and we'll crack on with this afternoon's sessions. Thanks a lot.
Cheers.